All right, here we have Unit 4, Lesson 6 from the lesson called Strategic Solving. This is the homework video. So number 1, without solving, identify whether this equation has a solution that is positive, negative, or 0. Well, solution means, a value that makes a true statement. That's a solution. Okay, so I want to know whatever x is, what do I think? Is it going to be positive, negative, or 0? Well, I know it cannot be 0 because if it was 0, it would take away that 3x, leaving us with negative 5 equals negative 3. That is not true. So that cannot be a solution. So it is not 0. I'm thinking about, okay, the answer is negative. And it's a pretty small negative number. So it is possible that it could be a positive number. But if it was a positive number, it would need to be a very small positive number. So I'm thinking most likely it's positive. Can't be negative because most negative numbers minus more negative is going to give us a bigger number than just negative 3. So I'm going to say positive. We're pretty limited in what our solutions can be because we need a specific answer, but I'm almost positive that the x value will be positive when we solve that out. All right, so we're going to solve each equation here. I'm seeing right away, I'm seeing a negative 5 right next to the parentheses. When we know that there is something next to parentheses, I know that I'm distributing. So here I am distributing out that negative 5. So that would be negative 5 times x and negative 5 times negative 1. All right, so it would be x stays the same. This x stays right there. Then we have negative 5 times x and negative 5 times negative 1. That's the distribution. When we figure all that out, I get x minus 5x. Negative times a negative is positive. 5 times 1 is 5. And on the other side, I have x. Same thing, I am distributing out some negatives there. So it's like a negative 1. So the x will stay the same. And it basically is negative 1 times 2x right there. And negative 1 times negative 3. So that would be minus 2x. Okay, because negative 1 times 2x is negative 2x. And negative 1 times negative 3 is positive 3. So here we have our equation. Before I do anything, I'm going to combine like terms. Excuse me, my lights have turned off. So 1x minus 5x, that would be negative 4x. And I cannot combine that 5. Variables and numbers cannot combine. Okay, then I have a 1x minus 2x. That's going to be a negative 1x. You could also just put a negative x plus 3. Again, those two cannot be combined because I cannot combine variables and numbers. So I distributed, I combined, and now I can actually solve. I'm going to do my circles and squares. And I'm going to deal with my numbers first. So I'm going to move this 3. To move something to join the other numbers, I have to do the opposite of what I see. Okay, so I see a plus 3. I'm moving that plus 3, so I need to do minus 3. The point of that is to get the number 3 to join the other number 5. All right, I'm going to keep on going on this separate piece of paper. All right, so here I have negative 4x, stayed that same, so here to here still stayed negative 4x, plus 8 equals negative 1x. Now I want that negative 4x to join that negative 1x, okay? So in order to do that, in order to move it over, I have to do the opposite of what I see. I see a negative 4x, I'm going to plus 4x, and I'm going to add 4x. What I have left over is an 8. Negative 1 plus 4 is 3x. Last thing I need to do is separate that 3 from the x, so I divide and divide. X equals 8/3. All right. Number 3, I'm going to go a bit quicker. Here we go. I'm distributing that positive 3. Okay, that 6 stays the same, so nothing happens to the 6. I'm not distributing it. 3 times 2x is 6x, and 3 times positive 1 is 3. 21 stays right there. I see some things I can combine. 6 plus 3 is 9. Nothing else changed. All right, there's a number over here, so let's get this number to join that number. In order to do that, I have to do the opposite of what I see. That's a positive 9, so I'm going to subtract 9. Subtract 9. I get 6x equals 21 minus 9. All right, so 21 minus 9 is 12. Last thing I need to do is separate the 6 from the x, so I divide on both sides. X equals 2. Right? Number 4, I got quite a bit of distribution I see. Okay, I'm seeing here I need to distribute the 3, and over here the negative 6. When you do all that, that negative 10n does not change. It's a positive 3, so 3 times 8 is 24, and 3 times 8n is 24n. Negative 6 times n is negative 6n. Negative 6 times negative 4, positive 24. Negative times a negative. Before I move on, I'm noticing there is something I can combine here. So that's negative 10n plus 24n. You can just think about that as 24n minus 10n. So I get 14n equals, or plus 24, because I still have that plus 24 left. And there's nothing to combine over here. All right, so I distributed, I combined, and now it's time to solve. Oops, that is supposed to be a box. All right, so I'm going to add, well, let's subtract my 24 to get it over to meet the other number. I want that 24 to come join the other number, 24. Okay, so 24 minus 24 gets cleared out because that's 0. Then I have to do minus 24 again. I did it over here, so I have to do it over here. That ends up clearing it out. So what I have left is 14n equals negative 6n. Well, there's only one value of n that's going to give me this true statement that those are equal, and it has to be 0. Okay, 14 times 0 is 0, and negative 6 times 0 is 0. That is the only value for n that's going to get that to be true. I can even prove that to you by getting the variable over on this side by adding 6n and 6n. I'll get 20n equals 0. So you think about that as 20 times what's going to give you 0. N has to be 0. All right, this one here, we cannot just divide everything by 5 because I am seeing now the numerator is not 1. Okay, the best thing I can do when I see this is multiply everything by that common denominator. So that denominator is 5. So I'm going to multiply everything on the outside by 5. Okay, the parentheses, whatever's inside is not affected by that, just on the outsides. So that ends up clearing that denominator there. So I'll end up with 2x minus 2. And then 5 times negative 3 is negative 15. That is an easy way to get rid of those fractions. Now I have to distribute. So I'll get 2x minus 4 equals negative 15. I need that number to join this number. To do that, I have to do the opposite of what I see. I see negative or subtraction, so I'll do addition. addition. I'll get 2x equals negative 11. In order to separate the 2 from the x, I need to divide on both sides. X will equal negative 11 halves. All right, number 6. I see some things I need to distribute. I see just one, so the negative 7 needs to be distributed in. So negative 7 times negative 6 is positive 42. Negative 7 times a positive, well, I know that's going to be negative. 7 times 8 is 56, and I got to add that variable in. And the plus 3 at the very end. There are some things I can combine. Okay, 42 plus 3 is 45, and that minus 56n stays the same. Nothing I can combine over here, so everything stays. All right, now it's time to solve. Circling my variables, boxing my numbers. All right, let's go ahead and get this number over there to join that number. I want the 16 to be with the 45. In order to do that, I have to do the opposite of what I see. I see a negative 16, so I'm going to do a plus 16. That clears it out and gets it over here. So now I have 5n equals 45 plus 16, which is 61, minus 56n. Well, now this variable needs to be with his friend, the other variable. So I need to do plus 56n plus 56n. That happens to be 61n equals 61. Now, 61 times what equals 61? It's 1, and let me prove it to you. I'll end right here. To separate those two, the 61 and the n, divide. Divide, and as we know, 61 over 61, any number over itself is 1. All right, very last one here. Like I said, I cannot just divide everything inside the parentheses by 4 because I have a 3 on the numerator, not a 1. So I'm going to multiply everything by 4 to just clear that denominator. So multiply by 4, multiply by 4. Everything on the outside of the parentheses. That clears that denominator. Okay, then I'll get 3, 2x plus 1 equals 2 times 4 is 8. All right, now I can distribute my 3. 3 times 2x is 6x, and 3 times 1 is 3. 8 stays the same. This number needs to join that number, so I'll subtract to get him over. I'll get 6x equals 5. To separate the 6 and the x, I'll divide on both sides. X will equal 5/6. All right. The last problem, all you need to do is plug in x, and it will give you y. So we will have to just plug in x, and we will solve and get y. So y, we don't know yet, will equal negative 3, and we're going to do negative 4. So times negative 4 plus 5. That's going to be a positive 12 plus 5. And 12 plus 5 is 17, so y equals 17. Okay, this one, y equals negative 3 times negative 2. We're doing this one now. Plus 5. That will be 6 plus 5. And 6 plus 5 equals 11. All right, so let's see if when x is 0, negative 3 times 0 plus 5. Well, 3 times 0 is 0 plus 5, so y has to equal 5. All right, let's try when x is 1. Y equals negative 3 times 1 plus 5. Well, negative 3 plus 5 will be a positive 2. All right, what about when x is, sorry, my lights turn off. What about when x is 2? Okay, so y equals negative 3 Now we're going to replace x and say, okay, now it's 2. We'll get negative 6 plus 5. Well, negative 6 plus 5 is negative 1. Okay, now we have y equals, we're trying 4 when x is 4. We're just trying different options. What happens to y when x is 4? So negative 3 instead of x, we're going to put 4 plus 5. So that would be negative 12 plus 5, which means y, oops, I'm just checking my answer here, negative 7. And the very last one, y equals what when x is 8? All right, so negative 3 times 8 is negative 24, plus 5, y equals negative 19. All right, and there is the homework for Unit 4, Lesson 6.